everyone. Welcome to the stream. I think I have this set up correctly. So Goldie, I see you in the green room. I couldn't talk to you because when the intro music is playing, you hear nothing. So I'm going to say you're good to go. I'm going to bring you in here 1 second. And let's see here. You're going to come on screen hopefully in 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome to the stream.
Hi. Hello.
It's so nice to have you here. Oh my gosh, you look so cute today.
Oh, thank you. This is definitely just we're hanging out, so I thought I'd wear my hangout look.
I love it. I love the kitty ears so much. So we're going to jump into this. There's a couple things that we do every Thursday. You're going to partake in this with us. And then we will go into a question answer period and some talking to you time. So, oh, no, I lost you. Sorry, my bad. I'll fix it. The very first thing that we do on Thursdays, we have to ask the question. I don't know if you have anything, but we play this game. It's called What's in Your Cup? So if you have a drink of choice, beverage, adult libation, whatever it is, we share it with the audience and we say, what's in your cup? So I don't know if you're drinking anything, but you would tell us. This is the time.
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah. Yes.
I am drinking this giant bottle of Fiji water.
Fiji water. You're fancy. You fancy
I know.
like that. Actually, though, I'm look at this. Okay, so I have my fancy cup, my Thursday streaming cup that I got from Etsy with all the extra sparkles on it.
Wow, that is extra fancy.
But what is inside of it is I don't know, are you into teas very much?
I do like tea a lot.
Okay. Do you ever drink the Spice Market, it's the Pike Place Market Spice Market tea?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my God, it's so good. So it started in Pike Place Market, and they have this, they call it the tea for people who don't even like tea. So it's like a cinnamon, clovey, black tea that is amazing. So if you've never tried that one, you're going to have to
I
try
do
this one.
love cinnamony and clovey type teas. So that sounds super, super tasty.
This is my absolute favorite tea. You have to try this. Oh my gosh, you have to try it.
Now I feel like I have to try it. I feel like those flavors always remind me of the really cozy part of Christmas time and the holiday season.
It's seriously, it's my favorite tea. So you're going to have to try it and then report back on what you think of it and be like, Shelly, you just turned me on to the best tea ever. And I'll be like, you're welcome. I know. That's
Well, but until then, I have to
Fiji
finish my Fiji water because we have to stay hydrated.
Good for you, though. I try. Like, it's so hard drinking as much water as everyone tells you need to drink to be healthy.
You know what? I'm not always super good about drinking water because I love coffee, which isn't the best way to stay hydrated.
But it does have a lot of water in it.
That's true. It does have a lot of water in it.
That's how I think of it.
You know what? I Googled it because I wrote, remember to drink water if you're drinking a lot of coffee. And then one of my followers was like, actually, Goldie, coffee is hydrating. So I was like, let me figure out if coffee is hydrating. And coffee is still hydrating. It's just not as hydrating as drinking plain water, which makes a ton of sense.
Oh yeah. I was like, yeah, like, but I am a Seattle girl, so I am like heavily invested in being like my water is coffee, you know.
Well, Pike Place Market is such a magical, cool place. I've only gone myself once to it, but it is super, super cool. Of course, I got seafood. So.
Oh yeah, of course you have to. But if you're ever in this area again, I have an entire like list of places and things to see and like, you know, things to eat and stuff, and I will share that with you because I only share it with some of my friends. So, because I don't want too many people knowing about these places, you know.
About the cool places.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you come, I'll share the list.
I will say the last time I was there to just be a huge nerd. So I think
Were you at like Emerald City Comic Con?
No, I actually was visiting Wizards of the Coast and then playing Dungeons and Dragons at random cafes with random nerds.
You don't have to hide your nerddom. Be proud, girl.
I like to think I don't super hide
Yeah.
my nerddom since this is my live stream setup.
No, I love it. So I would love for, I'm sorry to everyone here in the chat. Let me say hello to some people. So Pixel Pia, Birdie Lynn TV, Dutch Can Jam. Tech for Your Needs. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. We are going to be talking personal branding 101 with my friend Goldie Chan, also known as the Oprah of LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about where this name came from as well. And then I really want to ask you about this 100 questions project that I've seen you doing on Instagram. So we're going to get into all of that. But for people who don't know you yet, I would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Sure. So, hi, everyone.
I know. I was like, I don't know.
Everyone in the whole world. Everyone. Mm-hmm. Hello, I am Goldie Chan. As Shelly already said, my hilarious nickname is the Oprah of LinkedIn. I got that from the Huffington Post, and then a few other places also use that to describe me. And the reason why I have this nickname is because I created over, I would say, 750 to 800 videos from scratch over the course of 2 years, creating videos consecutively and daily, and also helped build an entirely new community from scratch on a platform that didn't really have a creator or creative community on it beforehand. And honestly, for better or for worse, didn't have an influencer really platform or group of influencers beforehand as well. And so that's how I got the nickname, the Oprah of LinkedIn.
I love that so much, though.
Yeah. So outside of that, I also write for Forbes, and I run my social media strategy agency, Warm Robots.
I love that so much. Okay. So one of the things that I try to tell people when I talk about personal branding, because like the very first question is like, well, what the heck really is it? So the way that I explain personal branding to people is the feeling that, or like the words that come to mind when someone mentions your name. Now, I've never been able to explain it any clearer than that, but I would love to know from the expert, how do you explain what personal branding is to people?
So I think you're super, super close.
Was I close?
I think, I feel like personal branding is what other people think of your brand. So you've hit the nail on the head in terms of it's not necessarily what you think of yourself, it's what other people perceive you as. It's a little bit like thinking about PR, which is public relations. So how do other people think of you? And can we control this? Can we make different ways so that people think about our personal brand in different ways in different contexts? Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so thank you for reaffirming that like my horrible description was actually not that horrible. So yay
really
for
good.
Snaps for Shelly. Okay. Now I would love to say like you touched on something so awesome because you said it is not what you think you're putting out. It's what other people perceive from you. So do you have any instances where people think that they're projecting one kind of image where it just goes horribly wrong and people, that's not what they think of at all, as to like really illustrate that point?
Sure. So I probably should not bring this up at all because I don't really read a lot of gossip, but I literally have this tab open. So I feel like it would be wrong of me if I didn't talk about this. So There's an actor that you may or may not be familiar with. His name is Armie Hammer.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And in February of this year, so hyper recently, so prior to February of this year, he was in all these projects and he's known for having, I would say, a classically handsome face in a very American way. And so he's cast for all these projects for his classically good American looks and has not necessarily a wholesome look about him, but certainly that clean cut look. In February of 2021, he started getting all these accusations of really crazy and intense things. I'm not going to say them on air, but you can go ahead and look them up. But what I wanted to bring up was he had presented himself as this clean-cut, all-American guy. And that's the brand that he wanted to project to his audience and all of his watchers. And this was something that happened that incredibly tarnished that brand. In fact, his brand has been in what the media term a free fall since February. So he's gotten let go from his major agency. He's gotten booted out of projects. He was supposed to be in a movie with Jennifer Lopez, with J-Lo, got booted from that. He got booted from a Godfather series on Paramount Plus. So many things happened because his outside perception changed of him over time. So he had a certain perception probably of himself, or that he was, quite frankly, projecting out to others, and that changed. And because his brand changed, all of these other things changed around him.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully that illustrates the point, because sometimes I feel like personal brand is a little bit invisible and intangible, but when we're trying to like explain it, how it's real, you know, something invisible and intangible that got tarnished just has major repercussions for someone's entire life.
And you know what? I feel like can I say a positive example?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, please.
Yes. So I think a positive example that we're probably also all familiar with is, and I wish I knew his name, so that's on me. But if everyone remembers that viral TikTok video with the guy who was skateboarding to his job because he didn't have a working car, and he was just listening to his favorite, he just put on his favorite track. He was drinking some juice, right?
Cranberry, the
cranberry juice.
You know, they bought him a truck.
Yes. So I thought that was, I'm so glad you brought that up. So it was so cool because here's this regular guy, right? He's just documenting his life. It's not really even a bid for stardom. In fact, I don't think anyone could have predicted how much that blew up, but it really changed his entire life. So he gets Ocean Spray eventually bought him a truck full of Ocean Spray. But on top of that, he now has all these brand deals. He has a completely different life and lifestyle because of one video where he documented his life. So I'm sure he wasn't even thinking about his personal brand when he made that video. He's just like, this is just me. And that has become almost a caricature of himself.
What I think is so amazing, I don't know if you had seen this, but he is, as an NFT, selling that original skateboard that he was riding in that
amazing.
video. I just saw an article this morning about how he's, selling the skateboard as an NFT, which I was like, oh, that's pretty
we
nice.
don't need to get into NFTs, I think, super deeply because there's such interesting things happening around that. But certainly, one of the things I think is interesting is that space where people are currently selling digital assets, digital items, is that they're selling a lot of memes. So people who have had their 15 seconds, 15 minutes, 15 years of fame are jumping in and they're selling digital items that represent that fame. So, for example, of course, we have the banana that's duct taped to the wall. There's NFTs of that. We have cat NFTs, all these things that are happening around that particular space where people are monetizing their claim to fame.
Yeah, I love that. And that is one of those things where people are able to really hone in on something that is like special in that moment and then kind of ride that wave into like that is now his part of his personal brand. And he's I think his handle is something like Ghostface 420 or something like that. And it's amazing because, you know, we never know how long someone has been making videos or which video is really going to pop off. And then all of a sudden it becomes what they're known for, like Kombucha Girl or the, you know, the girl in front of the burning house, you know, with the little grin and the little dude on the beach with the, you know, fist. It's kind of amazing that now some of those things are that person's brand. Some
Absolutely.
Things that they never intended at all.
It's fascinating to watch a meme of someone's like moment in their life. So you now see all these catch-up images of people that became memes when they were very young, and then have these images of them now that they're significantly older. And it's so fascinating to think we still remember that meme as it lives in that state. But obviously the person who lived through that meme is now a different person.
You know the one of the guy who's always like, when they're talking about like, and then they give you your register at the total and he's like, what? That guy?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I thought that was Michael C. Hall from Dexter. turns out it's a whole other person. But I just, for years, I thought it was the Michael C. Dexter. So it is not.
I mean, that, I guess he does
I think
kind
he
of look
looks like
that.
it so much. And I was just like, oh, because there was a follow-up video from the guy that was like, oh yeah, it became this meme. And I'm like, who are you? Like, and it like was this whole video about him. And I'm like, I never knew that it was you all of these years.
Well, speaking of that, I always like to bring up celebrities who have these hilarious cases, right? So one is obviously Tony Hawk, because people know what he looked like when he was younger. So the running joke is that all these brands even that collab with Tony Hawk don't always know it's Tony Hawk they're talking to, because obviously he's aged over the years. He's a man, he's an adult, he's not like a kid skateboarding anymore. He has kids of his own that skateboard, right? So it's just so funny that he looks so different. So he'll go to a place and endorse them, and they won't know who they're being endorsed by, that it's Tony Hawk.
I have to say, Tony Hawk is, well, one, a legend, but I saw him do a TikTok. He had gotten tagged a whole bunch of times from a UPS driver. I don't know if you saw that TikTok. I know you're just now on TikTok and like really kind of doing the thing. I love that. But there was a UPS driver, and he got this like beat up skateboard from this little kid. And he was like, give this to Tony Hawk. And then he delivered it to him, and Tony Hawk gave him like a signed like skateboard back, and like it was like the cutest thing you've ever seen. But it's like every once in a while he just shows up 5 or 10 years later, yes, and then like makes everyone cry with just being a nice guy. Like, when he's like, there's the article where he's like, oh yeah, and he's like, you kind of look like Tony. He's at a gate agent, and the guy's like, oh, Tony Hawk, like the skater, wonder what he's up to. And he's like, this.
Yeah. I think Tony Hawk has like a lot of those moments, and what I appreciate about Tony Hawk, I don't know Tony Hawk personally at all, is that he shares these moments with his audience. I think because they're so hilarious that no one knows who he is. And I've seen
everyone knows who he is at the same time.
But everyone knows his. And now that's the strength. If we want to talk about strength of a personal brand, is no one knows literally what he looks like, but all these brands will still work with Tony Hawk as a brand, as a concept, because that's the strength of his brand.
Yeah. He was on The Masked Singer as well.
Oh, was he? I will say I don't keep up with Masked Singer, but I do know something. Seen a few,
but he was on there.
I remember, I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but I don't think it's a spoiler if it already happened. Kermit the Frog was on there as a snail. So they did an unmasking. So now you have to look this up, but they did an unmasking of this character on there, the snail. And then Kermit the Frog like popped up out of it. So, and then people were just freaking out because they're like, wait, shouldn't there be another unmasking? Like, the person controlling the Kermit the Frog puppet inside the giant snail.
That's actually really interesting, because there are people who have almost this faceless, not nameless, but faceless type of brand identity. So when I think of someone like Corpse Husband or the Marshmallow DJ guy, or, other people whose whole brand is you not knowing who they are, which is a weird type of way to have a brand, but still very intriguing in some. Okay.
And I feel like that's very Twitch, very YouTube, to have a giant brand that no one knows who you are. And I feel like on other platforms, not so much, right?
Yeah. So we had a comment from Tech for Your Needs. Hello. They said, how about companies who use people so they're personal branding? So Insurance Girl like Flo, or Jake from State Farm, or when they have, like the Verizon guy, Paul, that used to be like, can you hear me now, before he went to Sprint or whatever it was. So there are sometimes, or Jan from Toyota, there are certain brands that use a character as part of their personal branding as well, which is an interesting way to do that.
Right. So what I think is so fascinating about that is the guy who's the Verizon guy, right? It becomes his entire brand, that his entire personal brand is weirdly encapsulated. And I say weird because it is kind of weird, weirdly encapsulated by this giant corporate brand. And for most personal brands, that's not what you're looking for, right? Even if you want to be the ocean spray guy, you don't necessarily want to only live ocean spray 24/7. That may, of course, not be the case for some of you. Some of you really want to be the M&M guy or gal and live with an M&M lifestyle forever. But a lot of personal brands are built on the strength that they can be independent of one giant corporate brand. And I say this because last year I was talking with one of my friends who's also an ambassador on a program with me. I won't say which program, but I wanted to tell them that they should be partnering with comparable, not obviously anything that conflicts kind of brands. So that way they make sure that if this partnership ever ends, they're not just suddenly out of the water, right?
No, that totally makes sense. So I think you just touched on something really important, and it is when you're creating your personal brand, how do you sometimes separate that or marry it with a big conglomerate or, some company that you're, hooked up with for a very long time? Like, how does one really keep that separation intact so that Jan from the Toyota can go off and do something else? Or can she never because she's trapped? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like in those cases that you gave, they've so much blended who they are with the corporate brands that they're representing that it's not actually easy for them to have independent brands. But say you so you have a 9 to 5 at a huge corporation and you want to represent that huge company as well as represent your brand. Now that is super doable. And the way we think about doing something like that is we make sure that we live through what I call our 3 keywords. And these 3 keywords are hard skills.
Everyone get your pen and paper ready because this is going to be like, this is the good stuff here we're getting into.
Yeah, this is literally an exercise that I make my clients who are C-level executives at Fortune 500 companies, at big companies do. But you have to have 3 keywords. So you have 1 that is either a hard skill or soft skill, and then 2 that's either a hard skill or soft skill. So you have a mix of the 2 kinds of skills. And what is a hard skill? A hard skill is like, are you a writer? Are you a YouTuber? Are you an engineer? What is your hard skill or hard skills? And then our soft skills are, what are the adjectives that define that? Are you funny? Are you warm? Are you sarcastic, right? Are you clever? What are those key adjectives? And then we pick 3 total. And those 3 keywords are how we live through our brand. So that way, even if you go from brand to brand, say your keyword, one of my keywords, and this is usually how other people describe me, is warm.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you. So warm is also how I approach how I work with brands that I work with. So one of the brands I work with is Adobe. So the content I try to put out for Adobe is warm. The same way the content that I'll try to put out for, say, Microsoft has the same warm, really thoughtful feeling to it. So that's how we live our personal brand through different corporate brands, especially for those of you out there that are interested in influencer work, which is a whole different thing altogether than simply developing a personal brand.
I think that's so true because when you think about that and when you're trying to influence, I think for it to come across as the most authentic, you really need to kind of stick to your main principles because it's a very strange combination when you see some big YouTuber who has obviously gotten some sponsorship, and this sponsor you can tell is very heavy-handed with the way that they're supposed to talk about the product, how long it's mentioned, like the shots they're using, how they talk about it. Whereas you can also tell the brands that have been kind of like, you do whatever you want to and weave us in however you want, and really kind of let the creators kind of use their own personal, brand or authentic self to really kind of talk about that product in a more natural way. Would you kind of agree?
Yeah.
Like you see
I would
evidence both ways.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And this is why whenever I work with companies to advise them on their ambassador programs and how they work with influencers, I always try to tell companies to give your influencers leeway, because the whole point is you're likely picking a creative to work with. So let them be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that so much. And it's so funny because I've seen my friends be like, oh no, they said I have to say these points, and like you have to read it off the script. You can't even like, so they're like, so I cut away, do a voiceover reading this script, and I'm like, ooh, that's congrats on getting the bag, but that man, I don't know about that one. So I want you to know that Theo left a comment in saying, I like your hair.
Oh, thank you, Theo. So this is a great time to mention that a good way to think about personal brands, if we want to talk about incredibly superficial things about personal brands, is that some people have really showy physical characteristics. So that might be wearing the same hat to everything. I think about one of my friends, he wears a gold tie all the time, like a mirrored gold tie. For me, I have green hair. It's different shades of green, but it's, at least since I've been doing videos on LinkedIn, it has always been consistently a shade of green.
Right. It's the girl with the green hair, or like the girl with the wing eyeliner, or, you know, Judy Fox is, you know, like the girl with the fox ears, or like all sorts of different things like that, that you remember about people as like when they come to mind and you say, oh yeah, Goldie with the green hair. That's actually personal branding right there. It's just how you're thinking about it.
And you absolutely, I will also say this as a disclaimer, you absolutely do not need to have something like this to have a strong personal brand. No.
Mm-mm. Okay, so I want to ask you about this project that you're doing over on your Instagram. And for anyone who's watching, I've linked Goldie's Instagram and her Twitter and her, what was the other one? Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn profiles down in the description box. So if you want to connect with her, go follow her on those platforms. I didn't know if you wanted me to tell people about your YouTube channel. You have one, but I know you were like, I don't know. So I didn't put that one. I can always put that
feel like my YouTube channel is so hilarious because I've actually actively told people not to follow it before, kind of as a joke, kind of not as a joke.
Before, when I was talking to you, you were like, YouTube. And I was like, I'm kind of getting the sense you're not proud of it. You don't tell people about it. You don't.
It's not even that I'm not proud of it. It is just there. It exists.
Yeah. Like, it's just there. So it's like, yeah, by the way, she has a YouTube channel. I
do have a YouTube channel. It exists. There are videos on said YouTube channel that you can watch. And I love that the more I say don't follow my YouTube channel, the more people
you can't tell me what to do.
They go and they Google it and then they follow it. So I think sometimes this is the best part about building your brand is you try to get people to say, follow your Instagram, and then all they do is want to follow the 5 other things that you do.
Yes, like, I didn't say that, people. You're not listening. But please tell us about this 100 questions, 100 like videos thing that you got going on over there. Because I think you're about almost halfway through it.
I'm almost halfway. Thank you for noticing.
45. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm doing a project called 100 Good Questions. These are 100 questions about life, career, and more. It exists on my Instagram. Actually, it exists pretty much everywhere because I love projects that I duplicate, triplicate across platforms. Pro tip, save yourself the time. Make sure that you can take projects from platform to platform.
Multi-purposing, repurposing. We love that here.
Repurposing, yes. So I love this project because it's asking people just random questions about their lives. For example, one of the questions that just came up was, what age would you stay at if you could stay at one age forever? Another one was, what was your first success? So all of these questions are meant to help people think through their lives and also really applaud themselves for any positive things they've done, any life lessons that they've learned. I have gotten very interesting responses. So at this point, I have hundreds and hundreds of responses across platforms. Some of them really, really great, so heartfelt. Some of them very weird, and probably I won't share them because I'm like, is this legal? And some, which is really, not what I expected. And some of them just, funny and hilarious. Like I said, one of the questions is, what is your favorite season? So of course, all of my nerd followers / friends have been responding with their favorite seasons of Star Trek. So they're like, season 4, where and I love this. What a hilarious response to what is your favorite season.
That's actually classic. And you know what? My friend Red Romina, she might actually come in with like a Star Trek thing too, because she loves Star Trek. She has she had explained it once on a Viper live stream where she said that she had a spreadsheet of all seasons, all shows with like notes. Like
Whoa.
she is like
I feel like I'm like
hardcore.
a casual, like I love Star Trek TNG. That's my jam. And I've watched it multiple times, obviously all the way through, but I'm not like, if you were like episode 17, like minute 2, what happened? I
think she could tell you.
Yeah, it sounds like she could tell me, but I definitely could not tell you what happened.
You know, I could probably get pretty close, not down to the minute, but probably at least to the episode with anything having to do with like Friends.
Ooh.
When I was younger, I had the box set of the extended versions of Friends, and I would watch them at least once or twice a year, the entire series. And then when I would catch reruns and stuff on TV, I would be like, oh, and they cut out that joke. And I would know what the line was that they cut out because it was not the extended version.
Well, you know what? Since I'm in LA, I have to ask, have you visited the Friends set that's
Yes.
at the studio here?
Yes, we did it on our honeymoon. We went through.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a
cute.
picture of me at Central Perk. Oh, you know what's so funny? It's over there. I was drinking from my Central Perk coffee mug today.
That's so great. I was like,
Yes.
if you were this big of a Friends fan, I hope that you've been there because I'm pretty sure you would nerd out.
I did. Because, you know, you actually get to sit on the couch and like, you know, be on the sets, and it's super fun. Yes.
I know, I'm terrible. So I will say this.
The Harry Potter one.
Oh, the Harry Potter one is super cool.
I'm a total Potterhead. I love Harry Potter.
I have been to that studio, and now I'm forgetting, is it Universal? It must be, no, yes. So I've been to both of these studios for meetings and stuff. I've been on the Harry Potter tour, but I definitely have not been on the Friends tour. I've just been there to film things. So
I was gonna say, I have my wand right here. Like, I am a nerd, people.
I have multiple wands.
Yay!
I
so
can't help it
that.
because you go into the store, and I had a season
and the
pass,
wand chooses the wizard, Goldie.
The wand chooses the wizard, and I have green hair, and I already look like a witch. So what happens is people come up to me in the store.
See, so this one is my Professor Snape one.
Yay!
Unsung hero. Expelling.
I do love Snape.
Okay, sorry. That was my moment.
I actually, 2 weeks ago went, because Universal Studios isn't open yet. It's actually just starting to open up again with a special thing called Taste of Universal. But it's been pretty much closed. But what has been open is City Walk, which is the area right next to it. So me and one of my friends a couple weeks ago went and got butterbeers and hung out on this like little area because I love butterbeer. It's so good.
It is good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, sorry. But you know what? Here's the thing. Harry Potter and like Star Trek, all of those also brands. Commercialized and sold and commoditized brands.
And I will say there's a whole universe of people, and because my new assistant is a Harry Potter nerd, certainly above and beyond apparently my fandom. So her TikTok For You page, because I'm just learning about your TikTok For You page is basically like your deepest, darkest desires.
Oh yeah. So it's getting real specific like sometimes.
All Harry Potter, but it's like the entire universe of TikTok Harry Potter, which is like people who literally dress up like Harry Potter characters for a living. There's
not only so many of those. Okay, so I'm going to tell her, or you tell her about a couple of them. So there is a girl, if you look under Claudia something, you're going to find it.
I also totally realized I do have a cup. So now I'm like drinking. And
no, do it.
It's just water. I don't know why I have water in two different cups.
If you search on TikTok for this girl under Claudia, you can find it under like Harry Potter Talk or Draco Talk, whatever. She is inserting herself into Harry Potter movies. She's up through like part 25. She's rewriting this entire storyline. It is some of like the coolest editing I've ever seen, and people are always like, "Oh my God, give me more!" But it's like it's a big deal. She's rewriting this entire story with like love interests, and she's using all these existing clips and making it seem like she's part of the story. It's amazing. So if they're into Harry Potter, they may have to check that out. And then
I bet she already follows.
Probably.
I will throw that out there. I don't follow, but I bet she already does.
And Draco Malfoy, the guy Tom, whatever his last name is actually on TikTok. And he had done a contest. It was so funny because people were like losing their minds that he was on there. But he did a Harry Potter, like how do you say Harry Potter the most like him or something like that. So all of these people were trying to be like Harry Potter and saying it like in all these amazing ways. And so he's on there and now reacting to some people's like impressions of him. It's actually great. So
that sounds
he has
so
his own
cute.
talk. It's called Draco Talk. So
I will say, this was absolutely insane. So if any of you out there have fans who make content about you or for you, it is one of the coolest things ever when it's done nicely and well. But one of the things that a group of my fans did actually in Texas is I visited them and held a meetup, and they remade, I don't know if you guys remember this video, but there was this really cute Harry Potter puppets video where they had all these Harry Potter puppets, and it was like this tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And so they remade it with themselves. And at the end, they popped up and they were like, Goldie. So the end was supposed to, I think, to say Snape. And then one of them just popped up and said Goldie. And I don't know why, but it wasn't like the best produced video, obviously, in the face of the planet. But it was just so cute and like so Harry Potter. And I thought it was adorable.
The best thing ever.
So, the best thing ever, yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So first of all, audience, if you have questions about personal branding, please do put them in the chat, because otherwise we're just going to continue to chat away.
Talk about fandoms.
Yeah, about fandom stuff, which is branding in a way.
Right, which is branding. So I will say, as everyone can see, let's make this a learning lesson time.
Yes.
I'm a huge nerd, and so behind me are some of the nerdy things that I like. Obviously, behind this way, let's say we have Star Wars, we have Totoro, we have something from The Simpsons, but this whole row is green because what's my brand color? Green. And it's super helpful to have a colorway that you're really consistent with for your brand, even if you don't have a color on your person or don't wear a gold tie or have green hair. It's helpful to have a couple of colors that you consistently like to use. Like Shelly, I see that you really like these purples and these blues, which are very soothing colors, and they're very pretty. And that's helpful to have because in the long run, that'll also help as you grow and expand your brand.
And so I'm glad that you brought that up and that you noticed, because I have, and I think a lot of people should sometimes think about this, and people mistakenly think that having a brand identity is just, I always use this font, I always use this color. But it's more than that. So yes, there were a couple of examples that Goldie just gave. Like I use all these green things, but they're also representative of my fandom and my personality. And here's the thing is, I do think it's a good idea to have basically like a brand identity blueprint. So I use like 3 different fonts usually if I'm making social media posts. I use very specific colors from my logo and my little lady over here. And I use like very intentionally sometimes thumbnail templates or something that I can do as like repeatable so that a lot of the time people will recognize it's me. Now, if you've never thought about anything like that, it may be something that you want to sit down and think about, because there are reasons why, like, purple is my favorite color and I wanted it to represent like purples and blues, and that's why I even did like my lighting this way, and my set is this way with blues and purples, like it's a gray, blue, purple background. And some people have a very certain aesthetic, and that's part of their brand. So Freddie, my love, is a bright pastels and pinks and super bright YouTube channel, and everything from her Instagram feed is like a pastel pink to everything on YouTube, and the way her lighting is, it's always soft muted and then bright white. So some people will do that very specifically to kind of evoke some sort of pattern a lot of the time. So I don't know if you've noticed things like that for other like big brands or personalities? If
Well,
there's
I'm
any
so
examples?
glad you brought that up because I want to give everybody a website that they can go to see a great and interesting example based out of Seattle, Washington. And that is Starbucks Creative Brand Guide. Now, I know people have conflicting feelings about Starbucks. I'm incredibly basic, so I do like Starbucks. And I know you had Starbucks on your cup. So if folks
In
want
Seattle.
to go to,
These are all
I just looked this up, but creative.starbucks.com, and it's their entire creative guide. And you can scroll through, you can see how they think about Starbucks in each different season, because Starbucks seasonally, of course, has different flavors and different colors, but there's a cohesive brand that goes through them. So if you are stuck and you just want some creative inspiration about what a brand guide might even look like, go look at Starbucks.
That's such a good idea. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I have a special love for Starbucks, you know, as a Seattle girl, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the two things that are important to me, right, in Seattle are my football team and my coffee. So I'm very like a Seattle, like I'm very proud of those. And I think there was a question in here. There was, what is the best way to figure out how your audience sees and perceives you? I don't know if you have any advice on that.
So sometimes your audience will just let you know, especially if you're a YouTuber, right? Let's just talk in the context of being on YouTube. If you're a YouTuber, oftentimes, even with the teeniest, tiniest channel, you'll get 5 comments and they will describe you. A lot of times not in the best, most flattering way. So that's oftentimes how you can understand how your audience sees you. Now, that might not be the most helpful way to see how others perceive you. Another way to do it, and this is why I love being part of a creative community of people, is it helps to survey your peers, right? It helps to survey not your best friend, not your family, but other creative people who are doing the same thing you're doing. So if you're on Instagram and you're an Instagrammer, to ask other Instagrammers, hey, how does my Instagram profile come across? Like, what are some words that you think of when you see it, or some ideas that you think of when you see it? Same thing with YouTube itself. What do you think of when you look at my channel? Is there like a feeling that you come away with really quickly? And that's a really good way to get some instant feedback about how your channel comes across. Now, I want you to be, though, so proactive about creating your brand. So we don't wait for other people to tell us who we are. We tell the world who we are.
And then stick to it.
And we stick to it. And that's how we create an amazing brand that we control, at least until something like, and I'm still looking at this tab that I haven't even posted, until Army Hammer situation.
Army until something like that happens.
Happens, right? So unfortunately, something like that is maybe out of our control, but until that point in time, we can control and we can navigate what our personal brand is.
I think that's a really good point that you just said. And a couple of other things that you can do. I love the phone a friend idea, because sometimes we're too close to ourselves in the situation to be able to objectively, well, I think it's this, and it's clearly not. If you ask a friend and they're like, what? That's what? No. So like if I had questions, I might ask D, you know, since he's a YouTuber and a friend of mine, be like, what comes to mind when you think of me and my YouTube channel? And, you know, I would kind of assess that. And
ask people within your ecosystem. So I'm so glad you mentioned D, because he's in your YouTube ecosystem. And I think sometimes people ask, like, it wouldn't be smart, quite honestly, to be a YouTuber. And ask your mom, or to ask somebody who is a huge on TikTok, what you look like in the YouTube ecosystem, because these are 2 different platforms. So ask within creators on your specific platform.
My mom would be like, you're still making those silly internet videos? Like, that's exactly what she would say, actually. Or like, I'm surprised you're still doing that. That sounds actually like my mom. But I was going to say, a few things you can do. You can go into your YouTube, your comment section, and a feature inside of TubeBuddy is word cloud. And so the way that works is the bigger that a word is, the more times it's been used in your comments. So if you start to see something, like for Goldie, it'd be warm, green, you know, like whatever else it is, you might say, these are some of the things that people are picking up and saying about me. So if they're going to say this about me, it might be true sometimes.
Right. So here's the thing, of course, if somebody comes up and says green, green, green all the time, and you hate the color green, that is a great time to just put the brakes on it and figure out why people are saying that particular word, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point,
Sorry,
too.
I totally
Especially
interrupted you, Shelly.
No. I was just thinking about that. And I'm like, that's true. If you don't want to be known for it, you'd be like, what am I doing that is giving you that impression? And you're like, I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah. But you can also see inside of your traffic where it says like videos that are suggesting yours or videos that people may have been watching before they came to you. So a lot of the time they haven't finished answering a question yet, or they're looking for a specific type of thing, and you're the next thing that's recommended to them. So it might just be, if it was mine, it's like iMovie or YouTube advice or whatever. And so I was like, okay, YouTube and, whatever sees me as iMovie and YouTube advice. And I'm like, that sounds about right. Those are part of my more, you said, the hard skill. And then the soft skill might be more so the word cloud comments. Helpful, happy, sarcastic, funny, whatever it is. Sound about right?
Yes, I would say intelligent in the mix.
I think that word is very small in my word cloud.
I think maybe I would be shocked if YouTube comments said that, because as far as I could tell, I don't think that would be a typical YouTube comment.
So
I apologize, guys. I'm not a YouTuber. So
yes,
once
you
again,
are. You publish videos that makes you a YouTuber. That's the only requirement to be having that title, in my opinion.
Beautiful. So now I'm a YouTuber. I'm going to go through and change all of my social profiles. Now I'm going to delete everything else and just write YouTuber. And then I'm going to put in air quotes and wrote at Shelly's.
But you're so much more than that.
You're a YouTuber. Dash something.
So I want to ask you about something, because you are kind of sitting here making fun of yourself, saying you're not really a YouTuber, but you are a very strong LinkedIn advocate / celebrity over there. I think you've got like 72,000 followers over there, which I didn't even think that was like possible. So like you're more connected in this world than I don't even know who, like Tom from the MySpace days when he was just friending everyone. But do you remember when he was like, he was your first friend? Like you always have your first friend in Tom.
I think Tom is really funny because one of my friends is actually very close friends with Tom. So sometimes he'll pop up in my social feed and she's like just hanging out with Tom.
I think they did a 20-year later like picture reenactment where he's still doing that thumbs up, like,
oh my gosh,
like where are they now, like the meme reenactment. But I want to talk to you a little bit about sometimes, depending on the platform that you're on, you decide that you're going to change or share different things. Can you talk a little bit about how you decide to compartmentalize sometimes, or like why you choose to do that?
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about this last time we chatted, which is I have a huge platform on LinkedIn that over 70,000. In fact, I'm absolutely terrible because I have no idea how many followers
I know. I
exactly.
I was just like, whoa.
I have, but it's over 70. That's all I remember. And my audience there is incredibly different from another platform where I have super high engagement, and that's Twitter. So my audiences are different. Now, how do I think about those two audiences? My audience on Twitter, because I've done D&D content and I've been on like Wizards Twitch channel and things like that, that content does not live on my LinkedIn channel, but it does live on my Twitter. So I have all these great, super nerdy fan followers where we talk about dice and things on Twitter, but we do not do that right on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's really purely brand and branding advice and things in the marketing world as well.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for 1 second because we had two comments pop up, and I want you to talk about this as the queen of LinkedIn to help them feel better. First of all, Lisa from I was just chatting with you in Clubhouse, and I want you to know I was reaching out to Renee. Will you DM me on Instagram? Renee from TubeBuddy. She would love to get an introduction with you. So if you want to DM me on Instagram your email so that I can write up an introduction between you, Jessica Hatch, and Renee over at TubeBuddy for information about that live stream, I would love to do that. So please, if you don't mind. Also, she says, LinkedIn intimidates me. And James right above that said, I haven't logged into LinkedIn for years and I was never active there. So what would you say to people like, do I need to be on LinkedIn, and like what it's intimidating for me, and what should I post on LinkedIn?
So first of all, let's talk about the intimidation factor. I absolutely get it, because I will say before 2017, the only reason why I would log on to LinkedIn is if I was helping build a personal brand. of an executive, and I would log in to see what kind of cobwebs existed on their profile, a lot. Or I'd log into my own profile, also a desert landscape of no content as well, right? But most of us think about LinkedIn, and this is certainly how I used it, as, oh, I need a job.
Yep.
I better get on LinkedIn. Oh, shoot, I need a resume. I better create one on LinkedIn. So if you feel intimidated about LinkedIn, first of all, it's a great place to just have your resume, to have your professional career laid out. Now, for some of you listening, you may not have a ton of stuff on for your professional career. You might be starting out. And I will say this, to play the devil's advocate to myself. I have friends who have almost zero social media presence because their jobs do not depend on it. One of my friends is a veterinarian who specifically works in, I have no idea what it's like, I should know those words, but she basically like looks at the insides of animals using a camera. Right? Endoscopy.
Yeah.
See, terrible with words. If I was writing, I would know the word.
You're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great, sweetie.
So the best part is she doesn't need LinkedIn to get a job. In fact, having a LinkedIn does not affect her getting a job at all, because the kind of job that she does is by word of mouth and referral only. So that's the only way hospitals hire for that role. But for the other 99% of us out there, most of us have jobs and or have agencies or small businesses that could use clients who exist on the LinkedIn ecosystem. And so I always tell people to check it out and to see if the kind of people that you want to sell to or the kind of job that you want potentially exists on LinkedIn. And if it does, it's a great place to build a presence on.
We have a visitor.
So cute.
We have a visitor. This is Cooper. Hey, buddy. Oh, he's mad at me today because I took the little clippers to his little face and like body, and he doesn't like the noise or the haircut or anything, but he's so cute. You're so handsome now, buddy.
He's so angry.
Oh, he is. He's such a grumpy old man. But I love him so much, and he doesn't seem to love me, but it's just whatever.
I'm telling you, dog talk. I now realize on TikTok, this is like a personal learning lesson of mine, because I'm so late to TikTok, which is you just put something in front of talk, and that is an entire genre of things.
Quilter talk and paper talk and drawing.
Frog talk.
Yeah, it's all a thing. So Lisa wants to say, so thank you. It makes it a little less intimidating. So there's that. And then also, Lisa, I think that you could do amazing things over there if you wanted to, because all of the knowledge that you have, let's say about, she makes these beautiful TikTok videos about food. You could be, I mean, you have such a large following. You could be giving advice or like helping people, consulting. You could actually offer that as a service. I know that there's a person, her name is Jade, not Dharma Wangza, but a different Jade, and she calls herself the TikTok influencer, like helper, but for brands. But she's focused on a young millennial, or not even Gen Z, like how to have businesses understand what it's like for Gen Z, working with Gen Z TikTokers. So like you could be doing how to do food talk or how to, shoot really cinematic, cool like videos.
Yeah, I usually think when I think about LinkedIn content, I want it to, so there is a beautiful genre of content on TikTok and YouTube that I would say is entertaining, but not educational. And we want to go the opposite side with our content for LinkedIn, which should be mostly educational over entertaining if we have to pick two. And the best mix, of course, is always entertaining and educational. But we want to make sure people learn. Yeah, edutainment.
Edutainment. And if you can do that, that's awesome. And because a lot of people can tell you things, but they're really boring. So if you can make it a little more exciting and accessible, that could be really, really good for you.
But so you don't want to post your wild weekend videos if any of you are still having those weekends. You don't want to post that kind of content on your LinkedIn.
But I want to say one thing about LinkedIn as well. One reason why you want to be on it, not only I think the attention is kind of like underpriced, as well as like there's not a lot of, especially like video content. There's a lot of like written short posts, but if you're someone who's a visual creator, you know, even if it's a short 30-second video that's showing one thing or like a beautiful food thing, you will stand out, I feel, over there on LinkedIn. And one thing that's really important about LinkedIn is there are a lot of people with money on LinkedIn. And you can also see like, you know, you can see their titles and what companies they work for. And if there's a brand that you want to work with sometimes, one of the easiest things that you can do is connect with the people at those companies on LinkedIn, because they don't have as many people hitting them up as that brand's Instagram, as anything like that. If you take the time to go find that brand, their executive, their PR people, get their emails, send a message that's carefully crafted and curated, I think you could actually do really well for yourself in just connecting with companies and making relationships that way too. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
So yeah, I my thoughts on that is I agree. There is a really easy way to access people in places of power who control budgets. So it is an interesting place if you are looking for things like brand deals and that's something you're interested in, or you're looking for clients, like you said, to advise on, say, TikTok strategy. All of those people are definitely present on LinkedIn. And it's certainly a place where I've gotten a lot of my brand deals and gotten a lot of my clients is LinkedIn, and by creating organic content on the platform. So that's the really interesting thing right now, which is you can still create an entire presence with purely organic content, no ads. And I really emphasize that because, as we all know, platforms like Facebook are now really pay to play.
Yeah, they totally are. And just don't be intimidated. I want you to say you have friends with money and deep pockets on LinkedIn. So again, maybe it's a place when you're not feeling as intimidated, post a few things and just have in your bio that you are, you know, an advisor, because there are a lot of brands out there right now who don't understand TikTok, but know, I hear I should be on it. Or whether it's vertical video, I don't know how to make these really cool Instagram stories. Or if you said something about YouTube Shorts and you're like, I advise people and companies on how to do this and catch eyes and attention, you'd probably catch some people's attention too. So,
Shelly, and I was thinking of you because I was sending someone my talk and I forgot that I had this entire slide. It was like 3 slides in there where I didn't say vertical video, but I just said short video content. And it had all the different logos of all the platforms that had short videos. And of course, one of them is YouTube, because YouTube has YouTube Shorts, and it's truly the thing right now.
We were actually just in a Clubhouse room tonight right before this interview, and on stage at one point, it turned out that we had someone who actually worked at YouTube in YouTube Shorts. So it was really interesting because it's so funny, because I was like, I cannot go into a Clubhouse room without people talking about YouTube Shorts. And so it's funny because at least tonight, though, it was really interesting because we were talking about Pinterest video and how it's really becoming a big thing. And it's the most I've ever heard one talk about Pinterest, but Pinterest video. But then it turned into a YouTube Shorts conversation, as it usually does. And then there was someone from YouTube asking the question. And so I had made a live stream talking about, oh, these are some resources and this is a place you can go, and they have a blog now. It's the person who writes the blog. She showed up in the Clubhouse room and I was like, this is awesome. This is so great. Oh my gosh, I was literally just talking about this.
That's what I think is so fascinating about all these new platforms that are popping up, and so many things are happening right now. That's why I think there's so much opportunity if you are a creative being to make your mark on whatever platform it is that you feel really comfortable on. So if you feel comfortable with audio and not video, then a platform like Clubhouse is perfect for you. Obviously, if you can make beautiful, optimized, amazing long form videos, then YouTube is probably a great place for you to be. There's just so many different platforms that are optimized for different kinds of content. It's such a cool time to be a creative person or to be building a brand.
And I think you really touched on, you don't have to be on every single one of them, and you don't have to be on ones that don't suit your strengths. So if you're really into audio, you could create an award-winning podcast if that's a thing, or you could create, you know, amazing blogs if you're a writer, but you're not good on video or whatever it is. Like, I don't think anyone has to be forced to be on any platform. that they don't want to be, but there's the opportunity available on any kind of platform for you to build your brand awareness, business, whatever it is that you want. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I know we're kind of coming into our last part here, and I don't want to keep you, and I want to make sure I respect your time. I want to say, Parajetta in the comments says, I always use LinkedIn to verify brand emails are legit. And my class in eBytes is saying there's a platform for every type of creator. Absolutely. So if there's any advice that you want to give to people about, how do I craft a personal brand? I know you talked a bit about your own like brand identity. Is there anything that you really kind of want to like leave people with as like, how do I get started, or advice?
Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do, I'm going to give you one word. The very first thing that we do is we focus. And what do I mean by focus? We try to have a single idea that our brand is built around. So for some of us, that might be TikTok cooking videos. That's a focus, right? For some of us, that might be YouTube videos of new Teslas. That's absolutely a focus. So you want to focus your content around one easy to understand subject. If it takes you more than 5 words to say that topic, you are making it more complicated for yourself than you need to be.
So you're talking niching. Love that. Love that for you. I love that for everyone out there listening, for all the people who are always trying to fight it. You heard it from Goldie. It's not my fault. You got to have like something that you're known for, as basically it's just AKA a niche. Okay. Yes. Continue. Or if there was anything else.
Yeah.
I just cut you off because I wanted to be like, I want everyone to know that I'm right, and Goldie is confirming it.
So yes, I'm positive, because you just said the word niching. You probably have an amazing video on your YouTube channel about this. So everyone, please go watch that video.
You have high expectations, or like, how do you know?
Now if you don't have a video, you need to make that video. I'm assigning you homework. This is what I'm doing as your guest on your show.
Well, I'm going to say I predicted the future, and I've made that video.
Perfect. So everyone, please go watch that video. I'm sure Shelly goes super in depth into what a niche is and how to really think about doing that. But the reason why it's so helpful to do that is because people have goldfish type memory. And if you don't have that super specific niche, or what I call focus, then it's really hard to remember what your brand is.
And when you forget what your brand is, then one day you're posting dancing videos, and the next you're doing your nails, and the next it's a coffee, and the next it's a, and you're laughing, but it's, we see that so often because people think I'm the niche. It's me. It's my life. Right. It's, a vlog. It's a whatever. And I would be like, great, have your fun, practice making videos, but don't expect that you're going to have this cohesive focus theme or brand, personal brand, that people are always going to think of you when they watch your stuff.
Yep. And I do think it is helpful to experiment first. So your first 30 videos, I always think, is kind of the number that is helpful to start experimenting with and trying a bunch of different things, because you don't know, maybe you do nails so well that nails is 100% where you should be focusing your content. Or maybe you are just a really lovely chef, and that's where you should be focusing all of your energies, is cooking videos and figuring out the rig that you need to shoot a good cooking video.
You never know.
And you never know. And I think you also don't know until you have something that is at least a slight hit. And what do I mean by hit? It might be that all of your other videos got 10 views and then your one cooking video got 100 views, right? So it's not necessarily that it gets 1 million views off the top and becomes a viral sensation. Sometimes it's just the thing that is 5x or 10x as popular to help us nudge us in the right direction.
So you're talking about being able to take and analyze data to make data-driven decisions in the future, because when you're able to crunch numbers, you're able to divorce yourself a little bit from some of the emotions that we feel like, I wish it had been this video. And I'm like, that's great, Susie, but it's not. It's this type of video. This is what your people are thinking of you. Just like, I think my brand is this, but your audience is saying, this is your brand and this is what we want from you. you know?
Right. So being super analytical about your data is going to be really helpful. I just didn't want to use those words. I don't want to scare people from looking at their numbers who are maybe less analytical and don't want to track this kind of data over
But
time.
I think it's probably because you're very warm and fuzzy, right? The whole like, I'm going to make everyone feel like included and like you can understand. And I'm like,
I can't ever fight my brand, guys. It's my brand is making educational content that's very accessible to everyone, so everyone understands what I'm talking about. I don't like to use big terms unless I am absolutely forced to, which Shelly is forcing me to do that.
No. I guess it's kind of funny because our brands are very opposite. Mine is more like I make videos so that I don't have to repeat myself, so that I can direct someone to the video that I've made so that we don't have to go through it again. And yours is just like, let me take you by the hand, give you a big hug, and like show you how to do this.
Well, Shelly, this is also why this is such a great time to bring up that our audiences are very different, right? Because my audiences come to me to get that handheld, warm, fuzzy feeling. And your audiences come to you because they want that really tactical breakdown, step by step by step, that's super clear cut. But the funny thing is there's an overlap that exists between your audience and my audience. And this is, I think, the cool thing, if I can bring up one last thing before we sign off, which is collabs like this one. So I think it's so fun to collab with people who have just kind of a slightly different brand than yours, because then you can grow your audience because people who are not in your direct audience now have discovered you.
So if you've been hurt or offended by things I've said to you, Goldie will embrace you with a nice hug and make you feel great. And in fact, speaking of collabs, I will post it in the community one as well as leave it as a pinned comment down here. But Goldie, I was on your channel earlier this week and we got to talk about, you know, videos and YouTube and stuff like that. So I will post that video. And absolutely, we had talked about collabs in a video not that long ago, and I was saying sometimes we like to collab with people who are kind of niche neighbors, or we like to collab with people who are like our friends, or we sometimes we'll do collabs with people who are like in opposite ways, but we can make it interesting, right? So there's lots of different reasons why people collab with others, and sometimes this is just an example.
But you also, I really do believe you never grow. And you never grow your channel on whatever platform it is if you don't collab with others.
Yes, absolutely. So at some point, eventually, people have to get out of their silos and they'll probably have to talk with others.
I know, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying,
but you
especially
have
for
to
us
talk
introverts.
To other people.
But the thing is, both of us are introverts. We were actually talking after the last live stream saying how both of us probably needed to unwind, get off of like the computers and just like not talk to people for a while. And we're like, yeah, we're done. We're done here for the day. Like energy spent.
I love one-on-one collabs as an introvert because I think they're so fun. And you know what, I think one of the key hallmarks of introverts is that we love quality time with another person. So we may not like quality time with 500 people in a room, but we'll like one-on-one time where we get to have a great conversation. And all of you out there get to listen to us have a really private one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, I am so like, I will go and have coffee with someone and have a conversation with a one-on-one, but I hate going to any kind of social function where people just stand around like talking to each other, you know, like milling with a whole bunch of people that I don't know. Like that is the worst for me. There was this one time where I was at this event where all the software engineers at this big company were standing around talking in groups, and I was sitting there like basically by the food buffet, just filling my plate with as I do usually, because I'm like, hey, if I'm eating, I don't have to talk to people. So I was just like, I'm sitting here, I'm jealous of the software engineers' social skills because I am so awkward while I'm sitting over here in the corner just stuffing my face with food. And I was just like, this is a new low for me. Like, I literally sat there and I was like, you really need to go say hello to someone.
So one of my questions that I have for 100 Good Questions, which, by the way, if anyone wants to look it up, just look up at 100 Good Q on Twitter or Instagram too. But one of the questions is, where would somebody find you at a party? And my answer is either talking with one other person or crouched down on the ground cuddling whatever
animal. Like if you have a dog, I will make friends with someone's dog, whoever like
Yes.
house it's at. Like I will
Yes.
make friends with their dog, and I will
Yes.
be either at the buffet, like getting food, or like in a corner by myself eating said food.
Well, I will say this one time, one of my friends loves, I think they're called Cavaliers, Spanish
The
Cavaliers.
King Charles
Yes.
Cavaliers. They're
King Charles Cavaliers. So I saw one, and I am very focused. So I quickly asked the owner while not looking at the owner. I was like, "Can I take pictures of your dog?" And then he said, "Yes." So I'm taking all these pictures of this King Cavalier, and I'm at South by Southwest. And then when I'm done, crouched down on the ground taking pictures, I look up and I'm like, "Oh, hi, thank you. I'm Goldie." And he's like, "Hi, I'm Seth." And I realize it's Seth Rogen.
Oh. Was it his dog?
And I was just, because he owns a King Cavalier, and I was there to take pics of his very cute. So now I know this.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
And he's so chill. Like, he's such a cool dude. So he's like, whatever. He's like, "I'm Seth." I
There
was
was
like,
one time
"Cool, Seth."
I worked at a big company, and they allowed dogs there, which is awesome. But I would know the dog, and then I would kind of know the dog owner. So there was a dog. There was like a little mini black poodle, and I was like, "Hey, Draco!" And then Draco like was a tiny little black poodle, and then he'd be walking around with someone, and I'd be like, "Hey, Draco's dad." And it became like this running joke because like he's like, "Yeah, it's okay, I get that a lot." But I was like, that was me. Like I would know all of the dogs, but I would not know like the people who owned said dogs. Like I was like, I love dogs.
Dogs are the best. For sure. And sometimes we don't need to know their human owners to justify our love of dogs.
Absolutely not. Yes, exactly. Everything you just said. So if you ever come over, I will let you take pictures of my Cooper and as well as my Casey. So
I can practice my dog talks.
Yes. So you can see it on my TikTok. But Casey, she's starting to come. Nope, she's walking the other way. She's a little 4-pound Yorkie poo, so she's half the size of Cooper. So can you imagine, like the two? They're so cute. So you see her on my TikTok.
So cute. Yeah, I will let everyone know that obviously, part of my TikTok is dog videos. I mean, so obviously.
Oh, yeah. Like in my bios, it says like dog mom, Seattle girl, coffee lover. I mean, these are like, we're gonna call them pillars, or whatever you called them, like focus keywords. Like mine, Seattle, coffee, dogs. That's yep.
That is super amazing. I'm also so glad that I mentioned creative.starbucks.com, and I'm not paid by Starbucks, so this is not sponsored. I want that to scroll down as a lower third. I just really like what they did with the branding for that particular doc. So it's super interesting.
I should probably mention, because you just said the word sponsored, and I was thinking about this. Actually, it's interesting because both Goldie and I's channel are both sponsored by Restream. So it's the little banner that's going right down below. We use it. We use the studio for our interview on Tuesday, I think it was. And you guys know the Tuesday show where I do with my friend Scott Peachy, the Amazon Would You Buy That? We go live from inside the studio where you can have up to 10 people and do interview mode. And it's all browser based, so you don't have to install anything. And they've got cool assets you can upload. And the cool thing is I usually restream with pushing from Ecamm. So Ecamm I do, and so I can do like fun overlays as well, animated stuff, and then I will push out to Restream to all sorts of different places. So if you guys ever want to check that out, the link is in the description and you can save $10 with that link. Yeah. Yay. I think it's so funny because like you're also sponsored with Restream, and it's kind of like, oh my God, amazing.
I know. So this is actually how we thought about doing a collab, which I think is so fun, is that we were in an ambassador chat, and then we were just like, we should collab on a video. And guys, this is how the magic of collaborations happen, is you happen to be in the same place at the same time and say, hey, why not?
And sometimes we had talked about this in the collab video, but I said sometimes it's about timing. It's just like weirdly happens. So Goldie and I have known each other for over almost 3 years. Yeah, I know, right? Because it was Summit 2019. Okay, so let's say almost 2 years. It's almost 2 years we've known each other, but this is actually the first time. This week is the first time that we've actually.
I feel like 2020 counts as a decade.
So if you think about that, you know, and it's not like our paths have never crossed before, but it's just like the timing wasn't right. And so it wasn't like, oh, I don't want to collab with this person. It was just sometimes timing, and collabs take a long time sometimes, or longer than you think. And so it's just good to have relationships with people in your same
Yeah.
kind of network or niche anyway, because you never know when something might become
Well,
an
I think
opportunity to collab.
this is why it's also great to know people who have groups, who have demographics that exist off of your platform. So
Yeah.
obviously, for me, my main channel that this went to, my main two channels was LinkedIn and Twitter, right? And then for you, I'm assuming that the main channel right now is this beautiful, glorious YouTube channel that we are in right
Right.
now. So I would assume that that would be where it is. So it's very cool to have people who have different platforms than you and to know them, and to be able to also work with them. It's pretty
Yeah.
neat.
I want you to know you were receiving some love. Eugene Kappen in the audience was also saying you are such a neat person, and yeah, so fan of you. And Aaron is saying awesome conversation. So thank you to Goldie and Shelly. So, any closing words that I know I kept you late. I'm sorry. I promised
Okay.
an hour. It's over. Is any closing words or where people can find you?
Sure. So people can find me obviously on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Goldie. Do you like how I had that memorized? I actually, in one very nerdy moment, took a bunch of those iron-on letters and ironed it onto the back of a blazer because I got very nerdy about it before a talk. You can also find me
That's
on
so
Twitter.
smart. Wait, like, so sometimes if you're like turning around looking at the screen or doing like something, like if you
Yeah,
have
so
it on you.
you could see my URL. I bought a bunch of space related iron-on
Oh,
decals
so
because
good.
I'm very cool. And so the whole thing was space theme / my URL, through my
That's so amazing.
LinkedIn
Oh no, my mind is
profile.
blown.
Yeah, now you can do one too. So now
Well,
I've
I
shared
did the
all of my
shirt.
secrets. Oh, see?
Oh no, I was gonna say
Perfect.
in gosh, one Vid Summit, because I remember the guy the year before. I don't know if you saw him walking around at Vid Summit. He's like last year Vid Summit, and he had a subscriber count on his chest, and then it was like this
Oh,
year Vid
wow.
Summit, and it was like 300,000 people different or something like that. So it was like everyone was like,
Wow.
you know, running around. Exactly. It was like, tell me about this, tell me about that. And I remember the year before, there was this one guy walking around with Restream, or I think it was, or nope, Switcher Studio, because I was like, it's all these Celtic swirls.
Yeah.
And he kept walking around. And I would be like, hey, I know that. And he was like, you did that to me at VidCon, because I had done it to him the year before. And I'm like, hey, I know that company. And he was like, I remember you. So it's like weird because I didn't remember his face, but he remembered me from remembering it from a year ago. And so I was like, okay, next year when I come back at Vid Summit, and I know you do it. I don't know if he's in the chat, but he had this whole suit with his face on it. So I've seen people do that, or like I had a zoot suit on. But I decided the next year I was going to come back, so I had a sweatshirt, ooh,
Excuse
bless you,
me.
and a T-shirt that all had Shelly Saves the Day on it. So that people like they with my superhero, and I would be like, "Oh, you're Shelly Saves the Day," and I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah,
How did you know?
it's weird. It's weird how you are yourself, like that persona, that person, that personal brand. But sometimes it helps to have literally your name or your channel name if you go by a different, like if your channel name was Cupcake Shelly for some reason because you made cupcakes for a living. It would be helpful if you had like the cupcake logo and all of that stuff because it would make you more easily recognizable when you're out in public.
Yeah. And even that, like the branding, because it was my little superhero person and just my name of my channel, and people kept reading my shirt, and I didn't want to be like also rude and be like, my eyes are up here, you know, that moment. But at least I was like, they're recognizing, and I had a few people be like, oh, I know that channel, and I'm like, they didn't really know me, but they knew like the logo and the name, so I was just like, oh, see, this is working, and I'm like, now I know why the Switcher Studio guy is doing this, and I'm like, I was thinking about this. I was like, I think if I go to like other conferences and stuff, I will probably always have something like that on me just to be more recognizable. So I know Judy wears her fox ears when she's at Vid Summit a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it's really great to really affirm your branding in public, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Because I know she always wears like a certain like a suit jacket and a whatever, because I think at one point she'd been told like her outfit was too racy or it was too something, and so now she's like, well, if I'm going to be a LinkedIn person, then I'm going to have like this blazer and people aren't going to say that to me, but I'm going to wear my fox ears because I'm still fun or something like that.
Yeah, so sometimes it's about figuring out what works for you and what works for your audience and what works for your platform, and it might be different from platform to platform.
Very true. Well, Goldie,
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. I have all of your links down below for anyone to come and check you out. You guys can also check out the interview we did on Tuesday over on her YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Any last words? I don't want to cut you off just in case.
I have no words left.
Perfect. Me either. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you. Well, not we, but I will see you on Tuesday for another episode of Would You Buy That? Thursday for Triple T Thursday, and Sunday for a regular video. Bye, everyone.